Next up is Devidas Mikocionis, the co-founder of Sugatan, a growth hacking agency. Now, over the last 2 years, Deividas has helped scale 3 brands to over $120 million in combined revenue from scratch. So in this talk, he's going to share how to identify trends early using strategies that the top 9-figure e-com stores do. You'll walk away understanding what separates the 9-figure e-com brands from the 8-figure ones. Deividas, the stage is yours.
Hey AdWorld family, first wanted to congratulate you to joining this amazing conference, joining me with a bunch of other speakers who are crushing it in this space or will be crushing or have exited their businesses, which is the ultimate kind of goal of all the marketers down here, marketers / entrepreneurs. I'm excited to be presenting at this conference because when I started this internet marketing journey, was it 3 or 4 years ago? Now it was 4 years ago. I was watching the same conference, actually replays of Thailand. If I'm not wrong, it was Thailand, like a real conference, not virtual conference. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh, wow, like these guys are crushing it. I wish I was like them at some point, and I wish I was presenting at the same conference at some point. Here I am around 4 years later, presenting to you. I'm super happy that I got invited for the second year in a row to be presenting. That means that I wasn't that bad last year, and maybe we got some positive feedback out of it. So thanks for joining me. And today I'm gonna be presenting to you the differences between 8-figure brands and 9-figure brands, how they are structuring themselves operationally, what did they do along the road, and what were our mistakes as well, taking some of the brands from almost 0 to 80 million this year. Some of the brands we are still struggling at the kind of the middle point between a real brand and a small business, which is around 25 million point. And that's the reason why I got super deep into understanding why are we not scaling these businesses, because in my network I also have like a small mastermind with 9-figure brand owners, and trying to understand what's the difference and how do they structure their teams differently. So yeah, this presentation is going to be about that, but before that I want to give you a bit of a background about myself. Hey, so my name is David, or Deividas. You can call me whichever way you want to. For American friends, I usually say that it's David. So I'll tell you a bit of a background about my story. So I started this journey being as an internet performance marketer 4 years ago. But before that, I was a football coach. So still performance game, but it's very different, right, from what I do right now. So when I was 20 years old, I decided to become a football coach, and I kind of found ways to be growth hacking the career of mine. So I started learning multiple languages, learned how to learn skills really quickly. I kind of learned how to be networking with high level individuals, and I found my way through to like in 4 years, relatively short time in a football career. I found a way how to become an analyst at Brøndby IF Football Academy, Portsmouth Academy, and Lithuanian national under 21 national team coach as a strikers coach / analyst. And because I growth hacked my journey so quickly, I was kind of ahead of the line, and I understood that I have some unique abilities that not all the other people do. But at the same time, I was traveling in Italy, and I opened up my news like one of the football news portals. And then I realized that the coach that I was working for actually decided to go out from that football club, right? And that meant that I didn't have a job. And then in a few weeks, there was a Lithuanian national football camp that had to happen. And I never got a call, like lots of political decisions were made down there. And here I stood in Italy, like thinking that I have 2 jobs and kind of a good, bright career in my path. I understood that's like, okay, I actually don't have it, So that's when I bought That's when I bought one-way ticket to Colombia. Actually, like it was maybe a month after that, but I decided that, okay, internet marketing is something that I have to learn and do it. I want to be the best at it. And that's when I remember I started watching the courses, I started reading lots of books and so on. And since then, like I did some freelancing job, and after 6 or 8 months, we started an agency, and now it grew to 80 people plus. We are generating around, I would say, 200 million in revenue for our clients per year. Last year, we generated around 160 for all of the portfolio of our brands that we work with. And our agency is focusing to be like a head of performance or a CMO, an external CMO. So we do quite a few things. We do videos, we do graphic design, we do email marketing, we do basically full funnel. And we are building brands. And with some brands, we went from almost 0 to 25 mil, to 35 mil, to 50 mil. And because of that, I had this unique opportunity to be working with a bunch of cool entrepreneurs, inexperienced entrepreneurs, and yet at the same time, I saw them going into the same problems. E-commerce business is a pretty similar business to no matter which industry you're in, which niche you're in, and the problems will be the same. Yet the decisions that these founders were making, or we were helping them to make these decisions as well, were extremely different. And some of them failed, some of them succeeded, yet some of them exceeded our expectations like 10x. As I said, one business will be generating around 80 million, and we started with them when they were generating around 3 million, and that's only in less than 3 years, 2 years and 88 months. I started writing down all of the ideas. Why do I think this business is scaling? I started meeting a lot of 9-figure brand owners, marketers as well, who are scaling businesses to even 200 million. And I kind of started to investigate why other businesses that I'm working with are not scaling as fast, or where are the bottlenecks. And I kind of combined a list of things, and I combined a list of problems as well, that you will probably be experiencing, and I'll tell you our failures so you don't at least commit the same mistake. And I'll tell you maybe how I would switch, all of the decisions that we made, not all of them, some of the decisions that we made, how I would switch them, and which mental models to use as well. I hope that it will be extremely useful for you. So first of all, I'll start off as the biggest one. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I met a guy who owns a portfolio of 5 brands. All of them combined will generate 400 million this year, and one of them will be exiting this year as well. So a really, really bright guy. And I started asking him questions, why do you think you are able to be more successful than anyone else? And the first thing is that he told me is trends. If you're ahead of everyone else, it's just the game is rigged. If you're ahead of everyone else, you'll have super low CPMs. All of the influencers will be working with you because they'll not have any competitor signed non-compete, that they have signed non-compete contract, etc. And I remember in my life as well, I actually started my making money online career in 2010 when I started playing poker online. And the first year, I remember it was pretty easy. I started generating. I went from 0 to 1.5K dollars that I was making, and that's pretty big, significant, considering that I was 16 and living in an Eastern European country like Lithuania, which is really cheap. Back then it was really cheap because we didn't have euros. But the point is that it was super easy to be doing that. It was the same for me when I started my dropshipping career, which lasted maybe for 2 weeks. And that was my first actually internet business. I started a dropshipping website in 2 days. I set it up in 2 days, 2 Saturdays actually. And I started running traffic. It was back in 2017 or 18. And within a few days, I started generating quite a bit of money, and then our PayPal got shut down, etc. But what happened is that within a few weeks, I was able to make quite a significant amount of money, without knowing much about it. I like the dropshippers I'm speaking right now are pretty when they show me their systems, the way they do things is far more complicated than what I did, So trends is extremely important, because if you are at the end of the trend, that's basically you're set up for failure, So before you are getting into these, creating a brand, try to be the first one in the game, because it's far, far easier to be the first one in the game rather than coming down 2 years later on. And in the example in my presentation that you'll see down here is the example of earbuds, and you'll see how the interest of it was increasing. And last year, in the end of the last year, it started to decrease. So we are seeing a downtrend. Maybe there is some kind of another technology in the earbud space or whatever. But then there is another trend that we have spotted, is that CBD gummies. If you see, it's trending up by a lot, and it's actually been trending up since 2018. So whoever caught this trend, I have to say that you have the window of opportunity maybe of 2 to 4 years. And that's what we see with all of the brands that we work with as well. We started working with them 2.5 years ago. Now we have a ton of copycats that are doing the same exact ads from us, same exact emails, same exact products. Like influencers are even big celebrities, like extremely big celebrities are working with them. And some of them have managed actually to catch up with us in terms of the revenue numbers, but they started, let's say, 1.5 years ago or so. Anyway, trends is extremely important, and that's what's the biggest lesson that I learned from them is be at the very cusp of at the beginning of the trend. Actually, you can be the 1 year later, but know that window of opportunity will be probably only from 2 to 3 years. Like what I'm seeing is that window of opportunity is 4 years, and with Facebook ads, for example, I really believe that kind of the opportunity is closing with the iOS change, at least in the US. We see the opportunity in the EU, but still the opportunity is closing, and that's simple, right? Be at the very beginning of the trend. Cool. So the second thing I kind of noticed is that, okay, there are two schools of thought. Because if we assume that the window of opportunity is extremely short, what we need to be doing is not to be learning everything on our own. You will not have time, to be learning TikTok ads, Facebook ads, email marketing, etc. What I saw, these people who are scaling brands extremely quickly and with an intention to sell within that, when that window of opportunity starts to close, the only thing they kind of do, and I saw them actually scale these brands with 5 people only. So what they do is they own the data. They figured out how to do data, like how to do attributions, not perfectly probably, but I saw the methods they use, and it's far more advanced than anyone I've seen. And what they do is they hire specialized agencies who can be executing extremely quickly at the channels that they are interested in. And that's the interesting thing, is that the brands that are scaling the quickest have figured out how to be scaling in multiple platforms. Because they caught that trend, they can be advertising as well on radio. Because they caught that trend and they own the data, they understand the attributions really well, they can be advertising on the cheapest advertising platforms that they can find, right? So they are channel agnostic, and I've seen some cases, where they do radio advertising with $2 CPMs, which is extremely cheap considering what we pay for Facebook, Google, or any other platforms, right? And what they value is the speed of execution. So they never take things in-house and try to figure out how to be doing things in-house, but rather they own the data, they get a bunch of other agencies and they act as a CMO, to be doing the whole strategy. But at the same time, they don't go into channel specifics. So owning the data, two things already that I have mentioned that are extremely important if you want to go to 9 figures. At the same time, I've seen, brands that are, or companies, I would say, not even brands, that are they specialize from 0 to 25 mil, and they create multiple brands around it and cross promote each other's products, and they can go to 200 million as well. And I've seen that, and they took a very different approach, which is like getting everyone in-house, hiring specialists, and growing that way. But yeah, two approaches how to be doing that. You can be deciding which one to take. I personally started to like the owning the data part, because all of the owning the data and catching the trends before they become really big trends. And that's because like all of the platforms are changing extremely quickly. You have to be keeping up with the updates of each one of them, right? Like Facebook constantly changing, Instagram, obviously the same thing. TikTok, you have to be scrolling on TikTok to understand the customer, etc. But yeah, I would rather now be hiring a bunch of specialized agencies if I wanted to go to the 9-figure point. Cool. And another thing is operational efficiency. Once you hit that 25 million point, it's extremely important to be getting really good operational people. I'm not an operational person, so what happened in the past 8 months, I was trying to become one. I tried to be one, yet I was terrible at it. And I'll tell you some of the things that we did, right? So I have a bullet point expensive mistakes. I'll tell you a mistake that cost us around $60,000, and it was a tiny sticker mistake. So we have a new product launch coming up, and we ordered a bunch of stickers, not stickers, the promotional cards, right, that we put into each order. And I don't remember how much it cost. Let's say it cost 50 cents each, because it's nice, with the design and etc. Hard paper too. What happened is that our copywriter have mistaken one word in that leaflet, let's say, in that promotional card. She has mistaken the product name on it, and we printed, let's say, 30,000 promotional cards. These, imagine 30,000 promotional cards, 50 cents each, so it cost us $15,000. Then that means that we spent these $15,000 on that, and then we had to reorder it, so it was another $15,000. Plus we had to have our copywriter, cross-check everything and so on, which in the end kind of cost us $60,000, I believe. And that's with all of the labor cost, because we actually didn't spot the mistake until we started sending them out. And basically we made calculations, and in total it cost us $60,000. So it's extremely important to be having, in the very beginning of the project, it's extremely important to be having someone to have a look at all of the small details of the project before it actually goes into the development. Or even another example, it would be a website, right? If you have the design wrong, and then you put it out to the development team and you forgot about something, it will probably cost you so much cash actually to be correcting that mistake, right? Then another thing that I noticed is the opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost is a pretty simple concept. If you focus on one thing, that means that you cannot focus on another thing. And let's say that opportunity cost, let's tie it back to that same product development part. If you decide that this is the line that you'll be developing, or this is the product you'll be developing, that means that you're tying up your cash for another 6 months. That means that your team will be working on that project for 6 months. But let's say that your decision to be launching this product is wrong. That means that you'll be tying up cash for your research and development, for product development, right? Then 6 months, your team will be working on the product launch. But if the assumption was they'll be working for 6 months on that product launch. You'll be paying them salaries for that. And in our case, it was around $70,000 per month that we paid, like, let's say a team of 8 to 10 people plus the development team, etc. And then in the end, we launched the product and it tanked. Why? Because we made an assumption. We didn't do an MVP. We didn't ask our customers how did they like this product to be delivered. What do they like about this product, or whether it's the most important product that they want right now. And what happened is that we invested, let's say, $500,000 into ingredients, into developing this product, plus another $70,000 per month for 6 months to be preparing for that launch, and like preparing all of the marketing material, also websites, because we had to redesign the whole website, etc. And that's one seemingly small mistake cost us another, let's say, $800,000, which is a lot. There is another point down here that I mentioned, is product development, and I just explained it to you, right, with the exact thing. So what you as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, or whatever you do with the e-commerce business or any other kind of business, actually, you have to be extremely cautious what you are going to be selecting to be working on for the next 6 months. Because if you are wrong, you might lose 6 months, and that means that's all of the cash related to it. Getting rid of dependencies. So at the same time, these 6 months have been rough for me. So getting rid of dependencies. So in these 6 months, what happened for us is that the whole team was focusing on that, and we had like 2-3 people who were focusing on generating top line revenue, right, for our brands. And what happened is that the development team was focusing on developing the whole website, and we had an interim launch, like one product launch in between that time. So our development team was working on that, and then they were preparing for the big launch, of the other line. And what happened is that in these 6 months, all of the projects or all of the funnels that we had in mind and we had set up for us to be launching in the meantime, to be generating us revenue, they were put at the back burner, right? Because you don't want to be missing the deadline for the product launch, but whenever there is a chance, like funnels, can wait. It can be done next week. And whenever the decision comes with the development, it's kind of tricky, to estimate all of the time. So if they say that, it can be done next week, it might mean that it's going to be done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And in our case, these funnels were postponed for 3 months. And after we kind of launched them, they lost the significance, right? And they stopped generating, they didn't generate us any money, and we kind of had other priorities down there. So if you want to be keeping up with the innovation that's happening in this industry, make sure that your R&D team or growth hacking team does not depend on any project that are related to product launches or kind of evergreen projects, right? You want them to be experimenting on their own. And then another thing, mid-tier management. At 25 million point, it was so obvious that we need to be hiring a bunch of operational people, not people who are just reading a blog article and trying to implement something. And because we didn't hire quickly enough, what happened is that the skill set didn't match the brands, like the level that operations that we needed in these brands. And it was interesting because I directly worked with 3 brands that were at the 25 million point. I saw one brand, the one that went to 18, that is going to get to 80 million this year. They hired extremely experienced COO. Another brand hired CMO. That didn't work out. They fired her and so on. And that's another thing, the brand's kind of the culture of the company didn't match to her beliefs. And with another one, I tried to become that kind of a CMO role, and that didn't work because I'm not an operational person. I'm not. I haven't gone to university. I've gone to universities, but I'm not a manager. You don't want to be to put me into a management role. So, free business cases, and lots of different decisions, and the one that worked the best was when they found someone who is extremely experienced in the e-commerce business specifically, who has worked in this for over 20 years, plus is extremely agile to be making decisions on the spot, and like not disrupting the innovative team too, because the CMO that we had was blocking the growth hacking team, and that caused a lot of friction. So mid-tier management, super important, guys. Cool. So then we go into going from a small business into a brand, which is another different topic that you need to be thinking about. But the best use cases of that is when I saw that influencer marketing is tied into lifestyle brands, like into creating a lifestyle around your brand. That doesn't necessarily give you like the immediate ROI, but I've seen that brand, that went from 30 to 80 million this year. I saw how they were doing that, and it was super interesting. What they were doing is they were putting their customer persona into different lifestyle kind of situations, and she would be the hero of it. So Nike, Red Bull are the best examples of it, I believe, because Red Bull, for example, they sponsor all of these extreme sport events, right? And that's the kind of the aspirational goal of their market demographic, target demographic is, as it is with Nike. They sponsor all of these athletes to be an aspirational brand. Another good example is Gymshark. Obviously, they created the whole community around their brand, and these ambassadors, brand ambassadors, are the ambassadors of the brand, and that's why they were able to grow so quickly. But once again, they caught the trend when influencer marketing or social media influencer marketing wasn't a big thing, right? And they capitalized on that brand, on that part of the marketing really quickly, and they caught the trend. And strong values, another thing, that's super important, because what I've seen as well is that when we come to work with brands, they have some kind of values, like what we usually do is like to switch it a knot, is that the saying, right? To be making it a bit more extreme than they would usually do, or a bit more above the thresholds where they would feel slightly uncomfortable. And I saw that it worked, but as soon as when you go to 25-30 mil point, these brand owners start to be like, okay, this is something where we need to be careful about. We don't want to disappoint other people, etc. And the brand loses a bit of its value. So that's my take on it. Cool. So another thing that I actually saw 9-figure brands do is basically for each 25 million to 30 million business, I would say, or revenue generated for your business, you need to be promoting one more funnel. So what happened with our businesses is that to get to 25 million, we used only one funnel, or two, I would say 1.5 funnels. So let's say advertorials, right? And then just driving to the homepage. What you need to get to 50 million, and what I have seen that is working, is getting another funnel to work, or finding other traffic channels that can be driving that traffic to you, right? Usually they don't focus on as many traffic channels. Well, there are some businesses that went to 9 figures and they are focusing only on 2 to 3 traffic channels. And at this moment for us, what we do is we focus on Facebook, Instagram ads, obviously, and then in influencer marketing, and that's usually as well on Instagram, and plus you have like their posting and all of that right now. That's working really well. But some other businesses are just focusing on all of, like, they are channel agnostic, but they own the data, as I said before. Let's go into the product development. So as I said, like the story before, that developing new products is extremely important, and it can accelerate your business growth exceptionally, like extremely fast. And the quickest business that I work with, they have figured out how to be launching a product every month, and then we have relaunches of the other products as well. So we always have something to talk about, right? And it's not only discounts, but like product launches, relaunches, and discounts, like free things, that are kind of getting these customers to be acting right now, so that they would give you cash, and then you can reinvest it back into the product development. And so the key here is, though, to be figuring out how to be making successful product launches. So even with the brand that we have scaled, to like this year, we're gonna scale to 80 million per year in yearly revenue. Even with that brand, not every product launch is successful for us. So we're trying to come up with the formula, how to make sure that each product launch is successful. Their success rate, I would say, is like, and by the success, I mean that they are acquiring even new customers with that new product, plus all, like, they sell out really quickly. Is like from 12 products, let's say, during the year, 3 of them will be extremely successful, 3 of them will be average, and 6 will be like, you would have to discount later on. And that's with apparel brands, right? With beauty products, it's a bit different. So as I said, like I told you the story about how we were working on a product launch for 6 months, but our assumptions in the very, very beginning were wrong. Like, we thought that our customer will be buying that kind of a product, and they didn't. And we didn't ask them. We didn't do like a MVP, launch. We didn't test it out, let's say, by just selling like a small quantity of these products. And we tied up our cash flow, like 6 months worth of our cash flow, meaning for the marketing team, plus the development team, plus R&D, so as I said, like, we kind of wasted 800K, and with that product launch, I think we generated around 300K in revenue. So we lost lots of money. So it's a type 1 decision. Product development is a type 1 decision, and I'm actually developing kind of a strategy. How can we be making sure that the success rate of each product that we invest into and to development is increasing? Because if we don't get it right, you kind of get like 2, maybe 3 chances to get it wrong. Like, if you get it wrong for 3 times, and if you, let's say, for a year, you are launching a product, let's say, every 4 months, and 3 times in a row you get it wrong, you're out of business. So it's extremely important to be figuring out how to be doing your product launches successfully. And there is a whole marketing strategy, for the product launches as well. I encourage you actually to have a look, Google, and have a look at Glossier's product launch strategy. Google something to do with Glossier's product launch, and it's extremely well done, I believe. It's not super long as well, because, for example, I analyzed Nike, and with Nike it was 18 months worth of like product research, like development and launch plan and so on. But Glossier does it in 6 months. I think it's long, but it would give us a lot more time, for the marketing team at least, to launch it properly and to get people excited. Obviously, Glossier is a brand that has raised lots of money, so you kind of can skim through the parts that you don't think that are applying to your businesses. And the last slide is about decision making. Once again, working on the wrong problems or projects can cost you a lot. So be okay being challenged by your team. That's what I realized as well, is that your team will give you the direct feedback. If you have this kind of a culture, built out as well, you don't want your team members to be hiding something from you or not expressing themselves, because that's a terrible mistake that you'll pay at some point, because they are your soldiers. They know what's happening in the business, and you want to be listening to them. You don't necessarily want to be executing on what they are doing, but you want to be listening to them and taking that feedback, and then creating a system actually to make these decisions. Because what you'll see at the 25 million point is that there are lots of decisions, right? There will be some decisions that will be affecting your business for 6 months or for a whole year. There will be some decisions that, let's say, a pop-up, like, it's not something that you have to be thinking a lot about. You can just be A/B testing it pretty quickly, relatively quickly, and within 2 hours you can be testing it. not for the emails, right? But because you would have to create the whole flow, for that particular pop-up if you are testing a new offer, let's say, on it. So what I suggest you do is kind of create, a system, a checklist. And Farnham Street, by the way, they don't provide it on the website, I don't believe, but it's a good website, to be looking about decision making and how to be making it into a checklist. I do have my own kind of decision making process right now. It's not as extensive. It's not fully developed. I'm still doing that. And yeah, like another advice that I wish someone told me and founders that I'm working with is that whenever you're making a type 1 decision, and type 1 decision in our case is a product development, is that you need to eliminate all the stress. Go to the jungles, go to the mountains, whatever you decide to do, eliminate all of your stress kind of triggers, and take your time to be making that decision. Because, as I said, like our one product development, like one product decision to make one product cost us so much. And I don't see, and I've seen actually other mistakes like that made, or not mistakes, the decisions made that had as much of an impact, even not more, for even bigger brands, right? That I'm either consulting or working with directly. And I cannot stress it enough. Eliminate your stress, but make a decision-making process where your team can be chipping in and you are actually listening to your team and decide on your own, but don't be afraid to be challenged, because these mistakes are costly. I've experienced it on my own, and you can see it from my voice how disappointed I was when we saw these mistakes, and how disappointed I was with launching these products which didn't drive any revenue, and our team, the entire team, is struggling, to keep up with the revenues and so on. So that's it about all of this, what the 9-figure brands are doing, or owners and marketers are doing. What's the difference between what I had to learn up to until 25 million points, point of view, and then later on what I had to be learning kind of experientially, which is really painful. So I hope you are taking in these lessons seriously. I hope you're making notes, and once the day comes that you are at the 25 million point, at least you'll remember this crazy Lithuanian dude who was telling you that, okay, these are the mistakes that I was making, and maybe you'll be going into these mistakes and making these mistakes, and you'll remember, oh, I remember now, like why he was telling that. Because entrepreneurship is the way I see entrepreneurship is that, or making these mistakes, that we have just made, like in the past 6 months, is that we saw these mistakes in front of us. And the analogy I could give is that you go down the street and you see a shit, and you see and you smell it kind of from far away, yet you're still going there, you still go there, and then you step into it, and it's like, why the hell did I just step into it? Oh, now I know. And that's usually, the experiential learning that I love to go through. It's painful, but I love to go through it. And down here you have my link, my kind of the personality online that I'm creating right now, davidamiko.com/@world. I'll put up the decision-making processes that I'm dealing with, or I think the mental models that you need to be kind of working through as you deal with businesses at a bit of a bigger scale. And at the same time, you'll subscribe if you would like to, obviously, to join my newsletter that I'm sending out weekly by this point. And I hope to see you on the other end. Thanks a lot, and reach out to me if you have any questions about this presentation. Thanks.